Hello everybody, welcome back to the Stacey West preview show. I am your host, Jake Tong. We're back for another Sky Bet League One preview. Didn't get back in the door from Portsmouth until 11 o'clock last night. We're recording this the Saturday after. Cheltenham Town at home then on Easter Monday. It's going to be a really difficult game. We've got Jon Palmer, the reporter from Gloucestershire Live. How are you doing, John?
Hi, Jake. Yeah, very well, thanks. How are you? Hope you had a decent trip down to the south coast and back.
Yeah, do you know what, John? It was such a good day for football. I don't know what it was like down in Cheltenham, but it was so sunny. It was like a really entertaining game as well. Really good to get down to Fratton Park as well. Now, John, you're obviously a Cheltenham reporter. Obviously, Cheltenham are having a really good season. I think it's well publicised. That Duff is doing a fantastic job. Just to explain to us. You know, at the start of the season, I think Cheltenham would have been happy with staying in the division, but they've gone on one better and they've really established themselves at this level, haven't they?
Yeah, I think if you look at the size of the clubs in League One, for Cheltenham are almost sort of top of the bottom half of the smaller clubs. Really, there's a couple of clubs in the bottom half, including probably Lincoln after what they did last season that you'd expect to be a little bit higher, but really. All the big boys have gathered at the top, haven't they? All the massive ex-Premier League clubs, and then you've got the rest of the teams in the division. And Cheltenham have done brilliantly to be 12th with 3 games to go. I think, like you said, I think staying up at all would have been a good achievement. I think staying up in League One for Cheltenham is always a good achievement. Even next season, it will be a good achievement. Yeah. So for them to have done it with a degree of comfort and go to Lincoln on Monday, and they've got 2 games left without having to worry about looking over their shoulder. Yeah, it's brilliant with the second lowest budget in the division. You know, didn't even have a big budget in League Two at all by any means. So yeah, it's been far above expectations, I say, for anyone this season.
And obviously you go to all the games, you report on all of them. Has there been a particular highlight of yours while covering the Robins this year?
Yeah, the highlight's probably been some of the home results that they've managed. There have a few good scalps at home. They haven't really had much joy away from home, only 3 wins, but wins over the likes of Ipswich at home, Sunderland at home. They've beaten Oxford at home, got a couple of good draws against the likes of Wigan, Sheffield Wednesday at home. Even the Lincoln game was a good game to score with all the late drama and get that late equaliser. Yeah. So, but I think if I had to pick one, it'd probably be the beating Sunderland at home, because that sort of sparked the run of form that really took Cheltenham away from the relegation zone after they had a little bit of a wobble over Christmas and the New Year where they couldn't get a win, and then that win against Sunderland, they won 2 in a row, and it sort of took the pressure off a little bit. They beat Fleetwood on the following Saturday, and suddenly they were looking up again. And Alfie May started banging the goals in after he signed his new contract, and it's been a very pleasing season all round. But I think that Sunderland game, and then the Ipswich results, which was early in the season, for first home midweek game in the league under the lights, was a great one to beat Ipswich 2-1.
And not to cloud Cheltenham's season in any way, John, but I think you have to look at it the sort of the downfall of Crewe over the last 12 months or so, given that they were so impressive last season in League One. Obviously, Crewe then lost a load of key players like Owen Dale, Charlie Kirk, etc. That summer. But is there a fear that Cheltenham might slip a similar way, given the fact that there will be interest in key players such as, Alfie May will be attracting interest this summer, I imagine. Like you said there, Callum Wright potentially might be moving, going back to Leicester and moving on elsewhere. Is there a fear that Cheltenham might sort of succumb to that second season syndrome?
Yeah, I think Michael Duff's very aware of it. I asked him about it during the week about what's happened at Crewe, and he knows how they overachieved last season to finish mid-table, and then how hard they found it this season. He's fully aware of that challenge, and I think, like you said, that there are going to be some big hitters going this summer. I think Will Boyle's likely to move on. Whether anyone's going to come in and make a bid for Alfie May remains to be seen, but it wouldn't surprise me at all. And then it's the loans that have done so well this season, Matty Pollock, Callum Wright among them. They're going to be heading back to their clubs and maybe being tested at a higher level next year. So a lot will depend on the loans, I think, because they're not suddenly going to have a massive budget. It's going to be very similar to this season, right down there at the bottom in terms of budget. So much will depend on they have done it very well since Michael Duff's been in charge and Mickey Moore's been doing the recruitment. They have got some really good loans in.
Yeah.
And I think they'll be looking for a few more permanent signings, but I think replacing the loans that have come in and done so well will be one of the keys to Cheltenham sort of overachieving again next season.
I do want to ask you about one in particular, John. Obviously, he was on loan with us the first half of the season. Daniel Mundaloo, I believe his time at Cheltenham has been sort of injury ravaged, hasn't he? He's out for the rest of the season, as far as I'm concerned. Dan's had a bit of a tough season. How did he do at Cheltenham? Because I did notice he did also get on the score sheet on one of his first couple of games.
Yeah, unfortunately, he only played 4 games for Cheltenham, 4 starts for Cheltenham, and he did look really good. He scored his first goal in a 1-1 draw at home against Charlton, and Cheltenham should have won that game. Really, they conceded in the 90th minute. They deserved to win it, but they let it slip at the end. But he came in and did really well in his 4 games, and everyone thought, what a good signing. Fortunately, the injury happened, and he was ruled out pretty quickly for the rest of the season with a hamstring injury. So I think his last game was at the end of January. So it was a very fleeting glimpse of what he could do. And then they luckily had Kiana Tete from Tottenham, who signed in January also, but started off with a bit of an injury. And when Dan Dooley got injured, Tete came in. He's done very well. So at least they had somebody to sort of come in and fill the gap. But I think based on what he did in those first few, 4 or 5 games that he played for Cheltenham, I'd say he looked very good. And he did definitely benefit from playing up front with Alfie May. I think he did. Am I right in thinking he played up front a fair bit on his own at Lincoln?
Yeah. I think we sort of said, didn't we, when I helped you with that article, that he'd probably be better off with somebody else up front. Obviously, that'd be good news for Lincoln, and obviously, I think a lot of our fans were expecting Dan to come back and completely shove it in our faces and score when he'd been awful for us this year. Now, John, Player of the Season contenders. I think there's quite a few at Wadham Road. I think Alfie May will probably get the plaudits. But as you say, Will Boyle, Callum Wright, all been so impressive this year, haven't they?
Yeah, Boyle's had a slightly injury hit season. He was playing really well at the start of the year. Had an injury that kept him out for a while, and he's starting to sort of, I would say, get back to what he's capable of now. But that definitely rocked his season. I think that probably ruled him out of, just because of the amount of games that he missed, of being Player of the Year. But yeah, I think everyone will fully expect May to get it for the goals, at 21 league goals and 24 in total. Callum Wright has been exceptional. 9 goals this season from an attacking midfield role. He sort of carried on the good work he did during the second half of last season. Even he had a couple of months out, but came back strong, and he scored again yesterday. So he's been probably one of Cheltenham's best ever loan signings, and he will, I'm sure, go on to a very good career. But I think May's probably got Player of the Year nailed on. Other players that have done well, other players that deserve a mention, probably Matty Blair, who's going to miss Monday's game through injury, but he's been very good at right wing back. Hasn't missed many games, but I think he's probably done for the season now with a groin injury. And some of the sort of unsung heroes, really. Sean Long has had a good season. Obviously, ex-Lincoln. He's been very good. He's really come to the fore the last 1.5 seasons, I say, since he got over a few injury problems. And then Atete has done particularly well during the second half of the season. Liam Sercombe's still a very good League One player in it, coming into his 30s now. So, but yeah, May's been the standout performer. I don't think anyone really saw it coming this season, because he only got 9 last season. He's always been good. He's always been lively. He's always been popular with the fans. He's always been a good character. But I think for him to get 21 in League One, by easily the best performance by a Cheltenham player, goal scoring wise, at this level, has been brilliant.
I did want to ask you, John, just about one of our academy products that's plying his trade at Cheltenham. Obviously, Ellis Chapman, we spoke about him in December. Scored a cracking own goal against Accrington a couple of weeks ago. How's he got on over the second half of the season?
Yeah, unfortunately for Ellis, he's actually stepped up well. I think he's adapted well to League One, having obviously played a fair bit in League Two last season. He actually got a good run of games during the first half of the season, but he has had some injury problems recently. So he was out he got injured just before Christmas, and he didn't come back until towards the end of March. So he really did miss a big chunk of the season, but he's back in contention now. He, like you said, he scored the own goal against Accrington. He's sort of been coming off from the bench in recent games. He started against Sheffield Wednesday. That was his first start, I think, since the injury. So he's just building his way back to full fitness. He'll be involved on Monday. I'm not sure whether he'll start, but he's one that he's out of contract this summer. But with the potential that he's shown and the age that he is, he's only 21 still. I think they'll be wanting to keep him around, give him a new contract, and continue his development because he's looked good. He's very composed. Obviously, he's a good size. He's got the ability to keep the ball, and he's probably provided one of the passes of the season for Cheltenham this season, which was for Alfie May at Bolton away.
Yes.
Don't know if you saw the goal, but it's a absolutely brilliant pass through to May, and that sort of shows what he can do. Nice left foot. You'll have seen it, but he's technically very good, and I think he's definitely kicked on this season. Stepped up to League One well. If it wasn't for the injuries, he probably would have had a really good number of games under his belt this season. But he will be in the squad Monday, but I probably wouldn't expect him to start.
Yeah, I think you can sort of see why Leicester had him on the books while he was a youngster, so technically gifted. Now, Michael Duff, John, I saw you publish a video out on Twitter after the game against Gillingham on Friday. Full favourite for the job at Burnley currently with the bookies. What a job Michael Duff has done. I think he's up there for manager of the season in terms of League One. But how bad would it be, and what are the consequences for Cheltenham if he were to move on and somehow get the Burnley job?
Yeah, I think he was expecting a few questions about that yesterday because I think he only found out, just before the game, really, just when everyone else found out in the morning of the game. I don't think he was expecting the news from Burnley. But in terms of what a blow it would be if he goes, I think Cheltenham fans do expect him to go at some point. They know he's ambitious. They know he's done a brilliant job. They know he's going to be getting interest from bigger clubs.
Yeah.
And if he were to go to Burnley or another Premier League or Championship club, I think he'd go with everyone's best wishes because from what he's achieved, he came in, took over a team that looked like it was on its way to the National League in 2018-19 and turned them into promotion contenders the next year, title winners the year after that, and now highest ever finish in the club's history. So it's going to be a massive blow when he does move on. I suppose the club have just got to make sure that they try and get the next appointment right. It would be a tough act to follow, but they got it right with Duff. He didn't have any senior management experience before he came in. He was doing the 23s and just starting to get involved with Dyche's first team at Burnley in terms of coaching.
Yeah.
So they took a bit of a punt, but obviously he's a very popular character at the club already from his playing days.
Yeah.
So I think they will probably go down that sort of route again, up and coming young, maybe somebody that's done it at the 23s level and given their first chance at senior management. But it's going to be a massive blow. I think most Cheltenham fans have got the attitude of enjoy it while it lasts. I think it's probably can be compared to when the Cowleys were at Lincoln.
Yeah.
They got two promotions and they were there longer than Duff's been at Cheltenham. But I think there was always that feeling that what an incredible job they've done. They are going to get a chance at high level at some point soon. Yeah. So let's enjoy it while it lasts. But he's definitely going to go down as one of, if not the best manager in Cheltenham's history. And he's a legend as a player. And he's certainly going to be a legend as a manager for what he's done. But he like we spoke about earlier, he'll be very aware of what happened to David Artell, whose stock was very high at the end of last season. Now he's out of a job.
Yeah.
And I think, the question Michael Duff's got to ask himself is what else can he achieve at Cheltenham? Can he do anything more than what he's already done than finishing mid-table in League One? Yeah. So the offers are going to start coming, and then it'll be. But he's a sensible guy, and I don't think he'll jump necessarily at the first job that comes up. But Burnley is obviously a club that's very close to him, and if he were to be in the running for that, then there's no doubt he would. That would be a dream job for him, really.
And do you think, John, based off this, the Sky Bet League One season, do you think it's right that Michael Duff is spoken about in terms of Manager of the Year? I know, obviously, the likes of Liam Manning and Paul Warne and Liam Richardson will be mentioned, but Michael Duff has surely got to be up there, hasn't he?
Yeah, pound for pound, I think he's got to be up there. Cambridge have done well as well. They've come up just like Cheltenham. They've come up and they are 1 point behind Cheltenham with the game in hand. So if they finish above Cheltenham, you could argue that Bonner should be in the running. But yeah, I think if you look down the table, most clubs are probably roughly where you'd expect them to be now. Like I said earlier, I think most people, and I certainly thought Lincoln would be higher than they are, but Cheltenham are probably one of the ones that have caused a few upsets. They would have been most people's tips for relegation, wouldn't they, at the start of the season? And I think he's got to be up there. Yeah, I think he's unbelievable what he's done with such limited resources. And if he can do it again next season, if he still is at the club and he can do it again next season, I think that'll be an even greater achievement, because the second season, as discussed earlier, they're going to lose a few players. Yeah. Obviously, everyone wants a little bit more money in League One, and it might be hard to replace some of the players that go. Yeah. So the challenge is ongoing, but to be 55 points with 3 games left, the highest total Cheltenham have had at this level already. he's broken all the records really.
We'll go on to the game then that happened yesterday. A 2-2 draw with Gillingham. We sort of said off air that Gillingham look a different animal under Neil Harris, and you said that Cheltenham were fortunate to escape with a point.
Yeah, I think Gillingham impressed me. They are definitely united. They were battling for everything. The fans were right together. When Cheltenham Cheltenham have played them a lot this season. They've knocked them out of the FA Cup. They've knocked them out of the EFL Cup, and they've beaten them away in the league. So, but they looked a poor side then. A lot of the players are the same, but they just look galvanised. I think Neil Harris has done a brilliant job, and Verdane Oliver always seems to cause Cheltenham problems. He put them 1-0 up in the 14th minute. Callum Wright equalised 5 minutes before half time with his 9th of the season. Always seems to pop up at the right place at the right time, and he made it 1-1 before half time. But then Gillingham, I'd say, deservedly went 2-1 up through Ben Reeves, who's probably one of the best players on the pitch. And then it was Tete equalised 12 minutes before the end. And I think Michael Duff sort of felt it was a fair result in the end. But if either team were going to win it, I thought it was Gillingham. They hit the bar, they hit the post in the second half. They hit the post in about the 95th minute, with a cracking shot. They hit the post with the goalkeeper motionless. So I think they always looked like the team that were going to nick it if anyone was. So I think based on what I saw from them, they've got a good chance of staying out of the relegation zone, and just sort of which didn't look likely when Neil Harris took over. So fair play to them. They turned it around, and they look like a totally different team now.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Obviously, another game that finished 2-2 was the game earlier in the season between Lincoln and Cheltenham. Bit of a lot of late drama, wasn't there, in that game where Teddy Bishop scored in the 90th minute, and then it was it Matty Blair in the 95th minute with a poor header from Cohen Bramley capitalised and beat Josh Griffiths to the ball. What were your thoughts on that game, John? Were you impressed with Lincoln? Did you think that we were worth a point?
Yeah, I was quite impressed. And Teddy Bishop scored again against Pompey, didn't he? I think, is that right?
Yes, he scored yesterday.
Yeah,
yes.
So he's obviously scored both that day, and I was interested to see how Josh Griffiths was looking after he did so well for Cheltenham. It's a shame that he's had the injury now.
Yeah.
Obviously, we didn't know at the time, but Dan Mandulu came on in that game for Lincoln. I think that was his last game for Lincoln before he joined Cheltenham, funnily enough. But yeah, from what I remember, I think they all kicked off in the last few minutes, didn't I? I remember my match report had to change a few times because I had it written as a 1-1 draw, and then Bishop scores to make it 2-1, and then Blair pops up, as he's done a couple of times this season, with a very, very late equaliser. But yeah, I think the Cheltenham team will be pretty similar to that one that the Lincoln fans will see on Monday. Hussey's moved on to Port Vale since then, but he came off injured in that game. And a couple of the loans, Carl Vassell has left. He wasn't on loan. He left in January to go to America, but Carl Joseph from Swansea's left.
Yeah. Other
than that, it'll be a very similar team that Lincoln fans will see on Monday. And yeah, I think it was a tight one. I think, if it had finished 1-1, I don't think anyone would have had too many complaints. But that late drama was what I remember about it, really. The Blair header, and sort of Lincoln probably thought they'd won it. The fans are probably still celebrating the Bishop goal, and then suddenly it was 2-2. But yeah, I remember it being a fairly even one, and Lincoln looking. I think I said at the time that I expected them to be a lot higher then than they were in the table, and it is a bit of a surprise to see them where they are, but obviously not in any danger of going down. So there's no worries there. But to be 18th, I did think, after enjoying playoff campaigns and things like that in recent years, I thought they would be up there again, or at least in the top half. So I think that's a bit of a surprise. Yeah,
I think it's your standard playoff hangover, isn't it? When you lose the final and don't get promoted after putting in such a shift to get, we were in the automatic contention all season, and then to lose the playoff final was a bit gutting. Now, how are we expecting Cheltenham to come and play on Monday then, John? Are we expecting the formation to be 3 at the back, 5 at the back?
Yeah, I think they'll stick with a 3-5-2. I mean, they should be able to play with a little bit of freedom now. They've sort of set themselves new targets now, because obviously they've got safety out of the way. They've broken the record points target now. I think they just want to try and cling on to that 12th place now and stay in the top half. Obviously, it's quite tight below them. There's a lot of teams bunched up behind them, waiting to, like Accrington, Cambridge, Cheltenham, and they're not going to catch Bolton, who are 11th. So a bit of a gap there. So they'll hopefully play with a bit of freedom. Their away form hasn't been great all season. They've They got that 4-4 draw at Accrington recently, but they were well beaten at Sheffield Wednesday 4-1, 2-0 at Plymouth before that. They have won at Morecambe on the 12th of March. Before that, you've got to go back to the Gillingham game that I mentioned earlier. That was their last away win, which was way back in November, I think. So the only other team they've beaten away other than Gillingham and Morecambe was Charlton. So the reason why they're 12th is because they've been very strong at home. So but they'll still be up for it on Monday. I think they're not just going to sort of go through the motions. They're trying to break records and finish as high as they can. They're trying to beat 17th, which is the highest position the club's ever finished before, and they look firmly on course to do that. But I think Michael Duff isn't sort of tinkering with his team. He's not putting young lads in. He's not giving people a chance. He's putting out his strongest team, and he's trying to drive them on to finish strongly, because it's quite unusual for Cheltenham to be in this position. They've not had too many seasons where they've been mid-table. Since they've been in the Football League, they tend to either be chasing promotion or battling relegation. They haven't had many. So, but yeah, I think he'll want to finish the season properly. And a few players have still got a bit of work to do. Maybe if they're going to get offered a new contract. So there's a few that are playing for their futures. There's a few that will be wanting to finish on a high because their loans are coming to an end, or they, like Boyle, he's probably going to move on and get a move in the summer. So yeah, I think they'll be up for it. 3-5-2. May and Atete up front, sort of big man, little man. Worked really well together since they were paired together since that Landulu injury. And then the wing backs will be both wing backs are injured, actually. First choice wing backs. So Ben Williams and Matty Blair are both injured. So I think the wing backs will probably be Reece Hutchinson or Lewis Freestone at left wing back. And then they had to sort of improvise a little bit on Friday because of Blair's injury. So Connor Thomas played there as normally a central midfielder, but he could play Sean Long there. So that'll be a familiar face, potentially at right wing back, and Charlie Raglan could come back into the back three. Or Thomas would carry on there, and the back three would be Boyle, Long, and Matty Pollock, who's on loan from Watford, in the middle, and then Owen Evans in goal. Midfield three's got a few options there, including Ellis Chapman, but I think it'll probably be Elliot Bonds, Liam Sercombe, and then Callum Wright just in behind the front two. So it'll be something along those lines, but they've got a strong bench as well. But I expect it to be something similar to that after the battling to get a point on Friday. But if he does tinker with one or two, then Chapman's one of the ones who could come in. Certainly could come into starting 11, but he's just been, I'd say he's not 90% match fit at the moment.
Yeah, and obviously it's the football club's 1,000th game in the Football League, John. I think I saw you tweet the Gillingham game was the 999th EFL game that Cheltenham have taken part in. So what are we predicting for this historic game for Cheltenham?
Yeah, it's a 1,000th game for Cheltenham, and it's also Duff's 200th game in charge on Monday. So he'll obviously want to cap that with a decent result. I think Cheltenham have been up there before and got a creditable point. I remember George Lloyd scored a really good header when I think it was the day Lincoln were confirmed as being promoted, weren't they, that day? I'm going to go with that one again. I think it's going to be another draw. I know it's a bit boring, but I think having drawn 2-2 at Cheltenham in December, I think I can see this one. Yeah, both teams will want to do it properly, but neither team's going up, neither team's going down. I think it'll be hopefully an entertaining, but I'm going to go 1-1 draw. Yeah,
I think poor home record versus poor away record tends to cancel each other out. Well, thanks for coming on, John. Massively appreciated. Your time is muchly appreciated. Where can Lincoln fans go and read your thoughts and all your interviews with players and management after the game?
So the best place to find it is Twitter, I would say, at Jon Palmer Sport, John without an H, Jon Palmer Sport, and I'll be covering the game on Monday for Gloucestershire Live. So if you want to look at the Cheltenham perspective, there'll be plenty of content on there.
Brilliant. Well, thanks again for coming on, John. It's been great to speak to you. Thank everybody else for listening. We'll be back for another preview as we travel to Accrington for our final away game of the season. And we'll see you then. Thank you for watching.